I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call of Alderman.
Mr. Heisler.
Here.
Mr. Kinsella.
Here.
Mrs. Holt.
Here.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Ridgewitz.
Here.
Mr. Randall.
Here.
Mr. Anthony.
Here.
Mr. Davidson.
Here.
Mr. Silsby.
Here.
Mr. Hayden. Mr. Seibert.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Mr. Galletti.
Here.
Mr. Musgrove.
Here.
Mr. Orlett. Ms. Schneider.
Here.
All 16 aldermen are present. Roll call of department heads.
Police Chief Clay. Fire Chief Poor. Attorney Garrett Horner. Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle. Jamie Matrit. Tim Gregowitz. Jim Schneider. Leander Spearman. Emily Foltz. Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo. Debbie Belleville. Treasurer Dean Hart.
Here. Chief Clay, Chuck Schaefer, Debbie Belleville, and Royce Carlisle are all excused. Most of them have representatives here on their behalf. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask that you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to remind everyone that the meetings are being video recorded. They are seen now. Rich, I'm sorry? What's the station again?
989.
989. I didn't want to say that wrong. 989 on cable. They're on several times a week. It's actually, I think, even in the newsletter gives the times that they follow up with these meetings. But for that purpose, I state that is when you speak tonight, wait till you're called on. If you do speak, please speak into the microphone. The guests that would come up to the microphone here. Aldermen, please use your microphones. We're still having a little bit of trouble picking up some of the conversations, so I ask you to please be diligent about speaking into the microphones. Okay, with that said, we have no public hearings this evening. We will open public participation. Please raise your hand in just a second here if you're interested in speaking. I will call on you. You will step to the microphone, give your name and address, and try to keep your comments to about 2 to 3 minutes. We will now begin. Did I see a hand? Yes, sir. You can go first.
I'm Mike Bittner. I live at 2015 West 8th Street in Belleville. Several months ago, I asked the council to work together to be independent thinkers and leaders, to learn to compromise and to work for the good of the city. This was not done at the last council meeting concerning the Lindenwood University traffic light study. Tonight you will revisit this issue. At the last council meeting, the mayor stood before you and could not understand why you would not vote for a study, especially since Lindenwood University has invested so much money in its campus. Well, one reason not to vote for the study is because Lindenwood University doesn't want to study, they want a light. I have spoken to the university president, and that is what he has told me. They want a light, they don't want to study. Last council meeting, Alderman White made a motion which addressed exactly what Lindenwood University wanted. It was voted down. To spend nearly $30,000 on the study is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight this vote, if it takes place, will become an issue in the April election. Alderman White had a solution. It was voted down. The mayor wanted a study, and it was voted, and you voted for it along party lines. Looking at the council this evening, if I were a betting man, I would say that the vote tonight would be 9-7 in favor of the mayor's study. I hope some of you prove me wrong. Don't waste our tax dollars. I believe this council, working together, should be able to come up with a solution to this issue without having to spend $30,000 to study it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Michael Hagberg, 701 Centerville Avenue. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Midland Neighborhood Association that encompasses South 8th Street. And this council voted to award Hanks a contract to redo that street. It's in dire needs. sewer separation is a problem, and the smell to the residents is something that they've been putting up with for a long time. But I'm disheartened to hear the mayor's comments that now we may postpone this project until next spring sometime. Hanks has been awarded the job. I'm not even sure if they've already ordered material for it. I think that I'd like to see them go ahead with this project this fall and get it done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Alex McHugh, 10503 West Main Street. Along the lines of the traffic study / signal at Lindenwood University, I had the privilege of hearing Belleville's Director of Business and Economic Development speak at a rally a couple weeks ago. And I noted a curious phrase that she used in that speech, which was, a city would do well to take care of its eds and its meds. While some astute observations were made about the absolute necessity of a traffic signal at Lindenwood University, it might also be worth considering the fact that business is relationships, and the key to any relationship is reciprocity. And if it's something that Lindenwood wants and feels very strongly about, maybe we should give consideration to the fact that one of the ways that a municipality shows someone is important to them, or an institution is important to them, is to place emphasis on the things that they want. I'm sure college kids know how to cross the street. The question is whether or not they've got a break in traffic at that juncture to do so. Secondly, we had some members of another council at the last council meeting, the Boy Scouts of America Okaw Valley Council. And one of the things that troubles me these days is that a popular song on Top 40 radio, the refrain, the chorus of the song is, "Tell me whatever happened to the American dream." Scouts has a long tradition of patriotism and civic responsibility associated with that institution, and they swear an oath every week to obey the Scout law. And 4 of the tenets of that Scout law is, and they're required to do it from memory, a Scout is kind, courteous, friendly, and reverent. And I would humbly request that maybe we dial down the rancor a little bit while we've got some young Americans who still believe in the promise of America present, and to see how our democracy and our civics work. If they haven't already lost faith in the United States government, maybe we can show Washington that we can take America back at the city level. Thank you for the time.
Yes, sir.
Phil Elmore, 1106 East Main, Belleville. I wasn't at the last council meeting, so I apologize if I'm missing some details about this Lindenwood request. I would like to remind this council that a school in the 7th Ward, Bell Valley School, was denied a light, and reference to Belleville West being denied a light. And if I remember correctly, it was because construction of such educational institution is supposed to be paying for their own lights. So if there's a difference, I'm all ears, but those 2 situations do come to mind in recent history. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Lee Griffin, 305 North Charles Street. Greetings, board. Greetings, mayor. 2 years ago, I came up in this council in reference to some concerns I had about the housing and the lack of diversity. I was also concerned about the homeless people and the swimming pool for our people. It seemed like nothing has changed. And approximately 312 full-time employees, only a small number are African Americans. We got to do something. We got to reach out to these people. We got to let people know that we want them to be inclusive. It seems like my appeal to this tribunal has fell on deaf ears. We've got people elected, and they've committed to getting some people of color in the housing department. There's nobody over there, not even a paper pusher. It's the same old argument. What are we going to do? Everybody needs jobs. We're concerned about crime, but we got to let these people know that through education, we can all move together for the betterment. Mayor, we haven't done anything on my concerns. We need to have a meeting. We really need to sit down and talk and see where we're really at, because you got some bright people in Lindenwood College who would love to be employed in the city of Belleville. Even on the county level, we have a small number of minorities, but we have a great influx of people coming up here from East St. Louis and other areas to try to better their stations in life. These people got to have jobs. No justice, no jobs, no peace, or no votes. This could be another Ferguson if we don't get on top of it now and work together collectively in good faith. Larry Rice, dealing with the homeless people, we've done nothing. We're worrying about Lindenwood and all these other concerns. What about your pledges to do something for real significant for minorities? Is anybody having any concern about what's going on? When I walk in the city hall, I don't see no African Americans up in there, and I don't see color. I try not to see color. But if you look at your statistics and your numbers, ever since it was a situation of Belleville versus the United States back in around 1995, nothing has changed. We got to go out and be like Merrill Justice, the late Merrill Justice, and get the best qualified people. But we don't want, when we come to you for jobs, that you take our applications and throw them in the trash can because we're not going along with your ideologies. So it's not qualifications, actually, it's character. And that shouldn't be the situation. People are qualified, give them a chance. Again, 2 years ago, I came up here, and there's still a good old boy club over there. Nothing's changed. We got all these people who saying they're going to get up here and make some changes. They've done nothing. And the voters are watching this. People are watching these concerns. And I know my time is almost up. Can we have a meeting and discuss this thing in the proper venue, in the proper format, sir?
Leotis, we've had numerous meetings. You can call my office, and as I've met with you in the past, we'll meet with you in a timely way when we can schedule it. You just call.
I just
But
don't want
we've
my
met
appeal.
in the past, okay?
I don't want my appeal to fall on deaf ears, okay?
They have nothing
Because
to
I
fall
got
on-
kids who's going to college doing the right things, and they want to be able to get a job one day in this city and be a part of something productive. Let's look at the house and let's get some minorities. We never had an African American police female here. We got qualified people out there. So let's be realistic in our approach to be inclusive, okay?
We are.
And you know these concerns of mine, and they're legitimate. Put yourself in my shoes. How would you feel if every time you looked around, you see no African Americans? And believe me, there's some qualified people. I have a bachelor's degree. I know a lot of people who's qualified, but every time they come to Jim Snyder, they applications in the trash can.
Yes.
I'm telling you what I know. And he's made his out of his mouth saying that, hey, it's not the qualifications, it's are they gonna get along with the people that's in there? Take a real look, a hard look at this situation.
Okay, Leotis.
Thank you very much.
Call my office, okay? Anyone else this evening for public participation? Hearing none, I close public participation, and we will move on to the next part of the city council meeting, which is presentations, recognitions, and appointments. Tonight, we have a young man here from Althoff High School. J.D. Mayer is going to come forward to the microphone. He's a senior at Althoff. He's a four-year member of the Basic Initiative, and he's going to, as we do each month, recognize the character word of this month. J.D.?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is J.D. Mayer. I'm a senior at Althoff Catholic High School, and I'm here tonight to represent BASIC. And BASIC, it stands for Belleville Achieve Strength and Character. And I'm also a four-year member of BASIC. And the word for this month of October is responsibility. And what this means is the willingness to be accountable for your own actions without blaming others. So, for example, I had a responsibility to be here, tonight to present the word of the month, as well as responsibility at my job at work. Obviously, if I don't show up, I pretty much get fired. So that's basically what the word of the month is.
J.D., thank you, and we appreciate Basic's work. They do a lot of good things in the community, and we thank you for being a part of that for the last 4 years. Thank you very much. This time, I'd like to read a proclamation that we do each year, and I'd like to ask if the young ladies from St. Elizabeth would come forward, and I'll come out there. I'm not going to make you stand in front of me. St. Elizabeth's Hospital has requested that the city, in recent days, you'll probably recognize, we have the pink ribbons downtown, and their concern and their education of the community, to talk about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it's a very important month. Many of you have been affected by this with your own families, your own loved ones. So we're going proclamation reads, whereas October has been established as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month to increase education and awareness efforts for the most frequently diagnosed cancer in women, as the chance of developing invasive breast cancer at some time in a woman's life is about 1 in 8. And whereas almost 232,670 new cases of female invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in 2014, and about 40,000 women will die from the disease. Whereas women are encouraged to make a renewed commitment to following recommended screening guidelines and to make an annual mammogram appointment, as is recognized as the single most effective method of detecting changes that may be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt. And whereas during the month of October, St. Elizabeth's Hospital will be dedicated to enhance the knowledge on breast health issues in our region through ongoing community education, events, our Real Men Wear Pink, I forgot my pink tie tonight. Okay, I'll have to do that. A campaign and health screening services. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, in partnership with St. Elizabeth's Hospital, do hereby proclaim October 2014 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I urge all residents, schools, businesses, and civic leaders to take time to educate ourselves about the risk of breast cancer and recognize the effects of local healthcare professionals dedicated to prevention, early detection, and effective treatment, and consider what steps you and your family can take to minimize the risk of developing breast cancer. This is a very, very important topic. St. Elizabeth's has been very diligent the last number of years in bringing this back forward in front of us as a city. And I appreciate their efforts. I present this to you. And I thank you for your ongoing efforts to let the public know about how serious this is. Thank you very much. The next recognition, I'd like to call forward Patty Gregory and any members that are present here tonight who are members of the Art on the Square Committee. Would you come forward? Come on down. I don't know if you'd be here. I'm letting that nurse. She's been struggling with this for what, 3 weeks? And sometimes she kind of fades on the phone, so I'm not sure she. Patty, and to these young ladies with you here tonight, I know this is a small part of the committee, as we've been all talking. I've heard you, and I'll repeat it myself. The committee from heaven. And there's a lot of people besides your core committee who make up the volunteers of Art on the Square. We talked after this past year. This past year's Art on the Square, which was back in May, I have to say, I think of the 13, I guess after so long you get it right. We had beautiful weather. Not that we haven't been getting it right, don't get me wrong. But I guess we got put this way. I think we got it about as perfect as we could get. Weather, good Lord, was raining on us. Smiles all weekend. We had big crowds. We had smooth sailing as far as the coordination and all the experience your leadership and the committee has brought together. And we talked then about recognizing your efforts and the committee's efforts. And every time we talked about picking a date, she kept saying, that's not going to work. That one's not going to work. I'm going to be out of town, but this isn't going to work. So I finally said, how about we do it right after the 200? And the more I thought about it, I think, let me read this proclamation, and I think you'll agree this whole thing ties together with Belleville's first 200 years. The proclamation reads, whereas Art on the Square began in May of 2002 as a community fine arts fair and has accomplished 13 very successful shows. And whereas according to the 2014 Art Fair Sourcebook, Art on the Square has been designated the nation's #1 and #2 small town fine arts festival in America 7 times in the last 7 years. 4 of those were first, 3 of those were second. Whereas and stage performances, as well as delicious local food and drink. And whereas Art in the Square has relied completely upon volunteers who commit themselves to undertake the challenge of producing a state-of-the-art community event. And whereas the accomplishments of Art in the Square would not have been successful without the dedication and hard work of Patty Gregory, Executive Director, and the entire Art in the Square committee and sponsors. And whereas the City of Belleville has a commitment to the fine arts and the success of this extraordinary event. And whereas in the year that we celebrate Belleville's bicentennial, it is fitting that we, the residents of the City of Belleville, acknowledge how Art in the Square has positively impacted Belleville over the last several years, and how Art in the Square has created a positive spirit and momentum downtown and throughout Belleville, propelling us and our love for the arts into the future. Now therefore, the City of Belleville recognizes Patty Gregory and the Art in the Square Committee for their hard work and dedication in ensuring that Art in the Square is a tremendous success for Belleville, and we look forward to our 14th annual art show in 2015. I present this to you, for starters, and I have one other thing that maybe you'll hang over in your building at 30 Public Square. I'm trying to think, what do you get Patty and these girls, you know? And there's guys too in the committee, but it's a lot of nice young ladies.
I like the young part.
Yeah. Well, as you know, and I'm not advertising for the beer, but a big part of our history is our breweries, our foundries. But we had some of these, there was a few of these this year. And it's celebrating Belleville's 200th, 1814 to 2014. Proud of our heritage, confident in our future. And ladies and gentlemen, with people like this, working with the Art in the Square initiative and what they do and what they've done to propel us forward, I am very confident in our future. We present these two tokens of our appreciation. It's very small, but it's very sincere in the fact that we appreciate what all of you have given of yourself, of your time, your families, to make these ongoing events each year so successful. So we present these to you. And I don't know if you want to
People who know me know that I do have to say something. I do want to thank everyone from the community of Belleville and the surrounding area, because it's just amazing, really, what this art show and all these volunteers have done since we started this committee back in 2001. And Emily Wilson and Dee Dee Farquhar were on the original committee and are still with us after all these years. And so let's give them a huge round of applause. But really, one of the exciting things, as Mayor said, for the past 7 years, we have been named #1 of all the art shows across the whole country, large and small. And there's 6,000 art shows a year. And we've been #1 4 times and #2 3 times. And so I really want to thank all the citizens of Belleville. This is a very unique, outstanding community with a ton of volunteer spirit. And also all the surrounding communities that help support us. And I do have to say, for the 9th year in a row, we sold over $1 million again this year. So we're very thrilled with that, and we'll be looking forward to our rankings, which will be coming out the 1st of January in 2015. And May 15th, 16th, and 17th is Art on the Square, so put that on your calendar. We're always looking for volunteers and people to participate with us. So once again, thank you so much, and thank you to the council for everything that you have always done for us also. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I think the one thing I didn't mention, there's usually always right about 900 to 1,000 applicants for this juried show, and they take 105, is that correct, Patty?
Yes.
And when you think about it, as some of the artists have told me, the two things each year as I go around and talk to the artists, the two things that I hear that is really remarkable is, one, that they say it's just fabulous to be selected to be in this show, to have that on their resume. And two, the thing that I have to smile the most about, and it goes back to these folks here, they say nowhere in the country are they treated better. And that is a lot to be proud of, that they re-say it, it's tent after tent after tent, year after year. The artists all say, nowhere in the country are they treated better than in Belleville, Illinois. So I think that is one of the biggest compliments you can ever earn, and you guys have earned it repeatedly, and we thank you. So, keep up the good work, and we'll see you as we'll start to prepare for the 2015. This evening we have one more recognition, and it's exciting because, you know, we have not been a community that's received a whole lot of planning recognitions, maybe ever. But as you all know, many of you were a part of, this council certainly was, a part of this past year putting together an updated comprehensive plan. And it was pretty much a year-long process. And a lot of citizens gave input online, group neighborhood meetings, coffee shop meetings. There was all kinds of things tried to make a successful campaign to get input. This year we felt really good about the plan that we put together, and we submitted it for an award. And I was happy to write a letter and a recommendation with others to submit the city's plan. And we learned several weeks ago, and we just received a couple days ago, the award for the Daniel Burnham Award for our comprehensive plan, Imagine Belleville. There was 10 awards giving at this planning seminar up in Chicago, and the city of Belleville received 3 of them. This one here we received is the American Planning Association Illinois Chapter, Making Great Communities Happen, 2014 Daniel Burnham Awards for Outstanding Comprehensive Plan, presented for Imagine Belleville, presented to the City of Belleville, Kendid Keast, and Kaskaskia Engineering Group. These were the people that we had hired to help us with the plan, and this was talked about greatly up there amongst all these planners and communities, and it was outstanding. But it didn't stop there. I'd like to ask Emily Foltz to come forward, and I'd like to ask Gloria Crowder. And I probably should have made them bring their awards, but I didn't. So they actually were heavy what they got. These 2 young ladies earned 2 other special awards for Belleville. Emily, who's our Director of Economic Development, raise your hand. They know who you are, I'm sure. Emily earned the Emerging Planner Award, and Gloria Crowder, who is very active, and I guess, are you still the chairperson still of 17th Street Neighborhood Association, got really excited and involved in this whole planning process, really got engaged, and Gloria was nominated for an award as Planning Advocate Award. I'm proud to say that these 2 ladies won both of those categories, and the City of Belleville came home with 3 awards at that event this last week, and I was extremely proud to be there and see Belleville represented and get the recognition that it duly earned for a lot of unselfish work, a lot of time, a lot of meetings, but we put together as a team, thanks to all of you, a great plan, and it was great to see these 2 young ladies recognized for their individual efforts, and I congratulate them. Thank you. So see, it's nice to see all the good things that continue to happen in Belleville. At this time, we're done with presentations tonight.
Did you skip the lieutenant?
I'm sorry. Oh, no, I did it on purpose and I forgot to explain. Chief Clay could not be here tonight. And so he asked that we put this off for 2 weeks to recognize Lieutenant Icecant. And we will do that at the next meeting at Chief Clay's request. So Lieutenant Icecant didn't come tonight either. So I apologize. I knew it, but I forgot to give that explanation. Thank you very much. We will now go on to the regular part of the meeting. The approval of the minutes from the City Council from September 15, 2014. What's your pleasure?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Alderman Heisler. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Ladies first.
No, you do it so well.
Alderman
Yes,
Heisler,
sir.
go ahead.
Your Honor, I would like to make a motion to receive and file the council meeting minutes of September 15th, 2014. So
Second.
moved, Your Honor.
And a second by Alderman Schmidt. Discussion. Alderman Randall first?
Yes,
and we'll go to-
Your Honor, I would like to offer an amendment, okay, on page 10 of 17. The fifth paragraph, third sentence said Alderman Randall stated the 25-mile-an-hour starts at 37th Street. I believe what I said was 30th Street, South 30th.
I believe you did. Okay. Everybody accept that?
Yes.
It runs from 30th down to, I think, 20th now, right? Tim? Okay. Alderman Schneider, you had a comment?
Yes, I do. There is nowhere in the minutes that, you stated that you were tired of my sarcastic, smart remarks. And at the end, you were going to, I had my hand up and you said you would not call on me until after you left Alderman Davidson speak. I asked for a TV tonight to prove to you, because it's something that isn't said, and to the public, that you treat me rudely, and we have all these words of the month and that, and I wanted to prove it, because when he called and said Alderman Davidson could speak, he would then call on me next. You literally bypassed me. You did not let me speak, and I wanted a TV here tonight to prove it. And I was told by Jennifer that I had to put it on next month's agenda. Well, I am wanting it on next month's agenda. I want the proof. I want the TV in here to show how you rudely would not let me speak. I think it was very wrong, and during the last meeting, during a couple of times, you stated that you're tired of my smart, sarcastic remarks. Wait till I'm called on. Well, you don't call on me. I don't give you smart remarks, and I don't say bad things about you. I don't call you, say you're a bully or anything else like that. I let it go. I'm a bigger person than that. And I would think it's very rude for them not to let me have the TV here tonight so I could prove what you said and did. So I'm asking for it to be on the next city council meeting, and I am not approving these minutes.
Okay. I want to clarify one thing, if I may, to the council. I don't have a problem if you all want to see a replay. You were all here. If you want to see a replay, we can do that. But when Alderman Schneider called a staff member today, the day of the meeting, I can't have individuals calling the staff members and telling them what to do the day of the meeting. We need to get this into the agenda. The agenda was already out, and it was set. So, Alderman Schneider, I'll let you reply to that.
No, sir. I spoke last week to Dallas Cook and Jennifer that does the minutes, and they were going to do it. Jennifer called me today and asked me. I didn't call her. She called me and asked where it was, and I told her because she knew about it.
I did not know about it. At first
Well,
I
you
heard
just
about
got done saying that I called
no,
today.
no,
I did
okay,
not
I
wait
was-
till today.
I was told that it was brought up today.
Mr. Cook, when was it brought up?
We had spoke about it before, and then we looked into it today, and then we started going down that road and realizing that it probably wasn't fitting, to go ahead and do that today.
But
But yeah,
if I
you did.
But you had not talked to me.
Right, no, we had not.
And it was not brought up at agenda meeting when we met on Tuesday. So, I mean, this is the first I heard of it today. And neither,
Well,
okay? So
it's-
we'll move forward.
I do want a TV here, and I want it for next city council agenda.
At this time, we have the meeting minutes. There's a motion and a second with Alderman Randall's request to change that from 37th and Main, his statement, to 30th and Main. And there's the request of Alderman Schneider to review next meeting the portion of the tape that she would like to see everybody review. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. We move on to the next item. Claims, payroll, and disbursements.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, and disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Are there any questions about this motion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a treasurer's report. City of Belleville, funds and statement of cash and investments for July 2014. What's your pleasure? Yes, ma'am?
I move we accept and file the treasurer's report.
We have a motion by Alderman
Second,
Schmidt,
Your Honor.
second by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear discussion? All in favor of accepting and filing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have zoning board of appeals advisory reports.
Number 156, September 14, Ricky Ruman requesting a use variance to operate a used car dealership at 8241 Old St. Louis Road located in A1 Single Family Zoning District.
Do I hear a motion? Alderman Musgrove or Arlett? Do you-
Well, the motion was denied by the zoning board.
Do you want to make a motion to deny?
Yes, I'll make the motion to deny the
And to concur with the zoning board?
correctly.
And do we have a second? Motion's by Alderman Musgrove, second by Alderman Arlett to concur with the zoning board's recommendation of denial. Any further questions? Yes, ma'am.
I want to know if the aldermen of that ward have any, can they expand on that at all? Do they know any more details than what is written here?
Alderman Musgrove, do you have, she wants to know if you have anything else you want to expand upon.
I already heard the question, but there's nothing to expand. The zoning board discussed it, and they decided that he failed to do it twice, and they weren't going to go along with the third one.
Alderman Arlett, do you have anything to add?
Well, no, we just had the church, that part of it, was that brought up at all?
Was it?
Yeah, that they didn't want, there was some from the church.
Next door neighbors.
Yeah, we're not pleased with the thing, so.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to deny. Any further? Yes, ma'am.
Is it that he's not in the right area, or why are they, I'm sorry, I was not there, why are they denying this? If I have to vote on this, I'd like to know why it was denied. I mean, if I could please be informed.
He was in here twice before, and he was given the rules and regulations on what had to be done. He failed to do it. So he came back a second time. He tried to change the rules again. He brought in an old trailer, sat it there, and tried to use that for an office. That was not acceptable. That had to be moved. He continued on and failed to do it a second time. The third time around, they said, no, we're not going to let you work on that. You know,
Is this
you're
supposed-
not responsible.
Was he gonna use a building already there, or was he gonna?
There is no building
So
there.
he would have to build a new building?
Yes.
And be up to zoning?
Yes, with office, a bathroom, and all.
Running water and.
Yeah, he didn't want to do that.
We have a motion and a second to deny. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
No.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White.
No.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
No.
12-4.
12 to 4. The ayes have it. The request is denied. It confirms the zoning board's recommendation of denial. We move on to the next case.
Number 2, case 57, September 14, Felicia A. Randolph requesting a use variance in order to operate a boutique at 9454 West Main Street located in a C1 light commercial zoning district.
I'd like to accept the recommendation of the zoning board that approved it unanimously and have an ordinance drawn.
Motion by Alderman Musgrove, second by Alderman Arlett to approve case number 57 and have the proper ordinance drawn. Further discussion? All in favor of that motion, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I noticed that there was an objector for this. Does anyone remember, or, I take it the aldermen were not at the zoning since they're not listed. Does anybody know what the objection was to this?
Johnny?
If I can speak there on that. The president of the Belleville West committee spoke briefly on that, and basically, he felt that and I don't know how to really explain what he wanted of the lady, but he wanted to know if she was experienced in business, if she was going to sell used products, which she said no. She did say she was experienced in business. I don't know her particulars, all the particulars. Myself and Alderman White were the only alderman present. It's a business, and I did comment on it. I thought the questions that Mr. Wigginton asked were kind of irrelevant, since she was a new business owner here in the city applying for a license, and she is selling some of the same type of items that Mr. Wigginton was selling. So I didn't think that was quite proper for him to object on it, but he said, after the meeting, he said that he was only interested that the business would be a viable business and that it would stay in the city. And my response was that then we should help her. As business owners, we should help her and support her to ensure that she stays in business. And what is happening down there, she's an African-American lady that's trying to establish a business, and I think we should get behind those business owners that want to open legitimate businesses. And of course, we monitor those businesses on their startup. So that was basically, he didn't really, his was mostly an informational type situation that he asked.
So we have a motion and a second to approve and have the proper ordinance drawn, correct?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 3, case 58, September 14, Philip G. Elmore requesting an area bulk variance in order to build a room addition closer than 25 feet to the rear property line at 534 Lafayette, located in A1 Single Family Zoning District.
Motion to approve it.
Motion by Alderman Galetti, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Arlett, do I hear discussion? All in favor of approving case number 58 and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 4, case 59, September 14, Hicks Inspector LLC requesting a sign installation permit in area of special control in order to install one 30 by 15 flush-mounted non-illuminated sign at 20 East Main Street located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman White, do I hear any discussion? All in favor of case number 59 and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move on.
Number 5, case 60, September 14, Elisa Vaughn requesting a...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to ask that this one here be tabled. As the liquor commissioner, I've have the need after last day or so, or recently a few days, some more investigation needs to be done on the backgrounds. So I would ask it be tabled for at least 2 weeks to the next meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alderman Galetti, second by Alderman Anthony to table till the next meeting. All in favor of that motion to table to the next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 6, case 61, September 14, Victor L. Horsley, DPM LLC, requesting a sign variance in order to install one off-premise freestanding sign that is 30 square feet in area at 4909 West Main Street in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district. The sign will advertise the adjacent business, which is located at 4907 West Main Street, also in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Sorry.
I'll make the motion
Okay,
to approve it as recommended by the Zoning Board of Appeals.
okay.
Your Honor.
We'll
Well,
second.
first of all, let's get a second. We got a motion and a second. It's on the floor. Motion was by Alderman Schmidt to approve it.
Yes.
Second by Alderman Anthony. I'll now open discussion. Alderman White.
I'm not against approving it. I'd like to point out that the way it's represented here, it says the zoning board of appeals that the request be granted by a majority of all the members present. That was not the case at the board. That was not what the zoning board said. The zoning board recommended disapproval. One person wanted to approve it, and it died for lack of second. It's reported wrong here. If Alderman Anthony would concur with that.
Right, I concur with you, Bob, on that. If I might add, the zoning board did deny this, this sign. And, you know, for some reason, I don't know what it was that they actually denied it for. No residents showed up protesting it. No one was against it. Well, he was there, but he wasn't against it. Mr. Wigington, we're speaking of. The sign is a 5-by-6 sign, lighted sign that would stand 8 feet in the air on a pole. I think what the zoning board looked at basically was that the sign would not sit on the particular parcel number of the business itself. It actually would sit on the parcel number of the lot next door. And consequently, what Dr. Horsley has done, he bought the property next door. He bought the property that the sign would sit on. He got approved by the city to add that parking lot that's next door to that building. That building sits, it's an old building, it sits on the sidewalk itself. Dr. Horsley wanted a lighted sign that people could see coming from east and west. And there's no way to do it other than to put a sign in the grass, like, or on the parking lot, like a lot of other businesses on West Main have. Now, he does have a small sign on the front of the building, non-lighted, flat, and you know, we've looked at it a number of times. We just can't figure why he shouldn't be granted that. He's been a good businessman in that area, and I don't think we should deny him the ability to expand his business and by advertising, and by advertising with a lighted sign. That opportunity we've given to mostly any business that is asked for it along West Main.
Okay.
So basically, that's it.
Okay, Alderman White?
Yeah, I agree with Alderman Anthony 100%. At the meeting, there was really nothing negative that was mentioned toward the sign. And if you looked in the recommendation in the zoning board of approval, although they say they disapproved it, everything in there is positive. So I see no reason why they should not be granted the use of a sign on his own property to advertise his business, which just happens to be right an angle next door.
Okay, Emily, did you have anything to add as far as the? I know there was one topic you and I talked about some time ago, but do you want to explain that procedure?
Sure. I apologize, first of all, for the typo in the packet. Alderman White, I believe that's who said it, is correct that at first there was a motion to approve the request, which failed due to lack of a second. After that, a motion was made to deny the request, and all but one person voted in favor of that motion to deny. So there is a typo, and I apologize for that. Second of all, I will say the staff recommendation for this particular request was to deny it. Our reasoning behind that is because that we feel like an off-premise sign isn't the only option. We've, as staff, felt like there were other options for signage on this building, on the building on either side of it to the east and west. And we were, hesitant to recommend approval of something when we felt there were, in fact, potentially other options. So that's the reasoning behind our recommendation.
Okay, I thought that explanation needed to be heard, but the motion, we have a motion now to approve and have the proper ordinance drawn. We have a motion and a second. You've heard all these explanations. It apparently was a little unique. Any further comments from anyone?
So the motion, Your Honor, is to reject the zoning board and?
No,
Yes, it is.
Yes.
okay, hold it.
It is to,
Okay, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did,
And you made a motion to reject?
to approve the sign variance.
See, that's the way I understood it, so you,
Yeah, it's to approve. She was just saying due to the typo, she was complying with the zoning board. However, this would be going against the zoning board and going ahead and approving it.
So the motion that you made is to approve the request
Yes,
Yes.
and have the proper ordinance drawn?
yes, sir.
And you seconded that?
And I second this.
Okay, so does that
And
clarify?
my point of clarification is with the typo, Your Honor, that this is basically, because it says that the zoning board of appeals, the request of the variance be granted by a majority vote, that's not, that's the typo I assume Ms. Foltz is referring to.
So my motion would be to reject the recommendation of the zoning board of appeals and grant the sign variance in order for him to install the sign.
And have the appropriate ordinance.
Perfect.
Okay, so,
All drawn, yeah.
okay, so you're gonna amend your motion to reject the zoning board's recommendation and to approve the request for the sign installation.
Yes, that's correct.
And have the proper ordinance drawing. And your second reflects that. Does everybody understand that?
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what is the first, is this the second building in from the corner?
Actually, it's the first building there on the corner of 49th Street. And if you,
Is it at 49th or at 48th?
it's actually on 49th. It's on the 49th corner. Actually, those two buildings, both of those buildings actually sit directly on the sidewalk. That was one reason why I couldn't see where he could actually mount a sign on the east side of that building. The building that sits on the corner of 48 actually sits on the sidewalk also. Big tall building that's been there 100
Right,
years.
right.
Both of those buildings are over 100 years old.
Okay, so this is on the next corner.
Right. This is on the
Okay.
49th corner.
Okay, and so is one of them like a chiropractor's office?
Right, right. The chiropractor is actually on the 48th corner. And the foot doctor is there on the 49th corner. And that's 49th Street that goes down
Right,
between there. That's a
right.
one-way street
Yeah.
going north.
Yeah,
Right. And that was the reason for him to get that parking lot over there, because he has no parking on that side also.
okay.
So,
Okay, so reiterate one more time. The motion rejects the zoning board's recommendation of denial. It motions to approve the request and have the proper ordinance drawn, and you seconded that. So I'm asking for a vote. All in favor of Mr. Alderman Schmidt's motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose?
No.
Motion carries. We move on. Oral reports, we go to Alderman Kinsella.
Your Honor,
I'm sorry,
and that would come to the
the next meeting.
Next council.
Because that was not prepared, right?
Right.
Garrett? Right, so it'll come to the next meeting for the ordinance, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Kinsella.
I move to approve the contract for codification services with American Legal Publishing, subject to review and approval by the city attorney.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. A couple follow-up questions. First, did the current company that we're doing now, did they bid or not bid?
I'll let our city attorney answer.
I'm not familiar with who the current company is.
We don't have a current company. Huh?
Doesn't Highland sign?
He has helped with a few updates,
Yeah.
but we've never hired him. He's,
Okay.
Illinois Codification Services did submit a proposal, but it was essentially non-responsive. They had acknowledged by telephone before that they don't do the online service. They don't house it, and
can't view
in fact, they utilize some others. But they did submit a proposal that was it was very brief and considered to be non-responsive.
any other questions? Motion and second has been made to approve American Legal Publishing so that we can move forward with our codification process. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Consilla.
I move to approve the development agreement for Empire Comfort Systems Incorporated for the expansion of existing facility at 925 and 939 Freeburg Avenue.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Ridgewitz.
I make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding between the union and city on an increased hourly rate for health and housing office manager and building and zone secretary as a direct result of additional duties with the crime-free housing program.
Motion by Alderman Ridgewitz. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Alderman Ridgewitz.
I make a motion to advertise bid proposal for 2015 through 2017 grass mowing and yard maintenance agreement.
Motion by Alderman
Second.
Ridgewitz, second by Alderman Hayden. Any discussion? All in favor of going out for a proposal signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to, the Master Sewer Committee did not happen tonight because there was a failure to properly post and advertise the meeting. So I'd like to just ask that we would put off this motion, table it to the next meeting. And I guess the only thing is, the Master Sewer, they don't meet again for a month unless we can go ahead and have a special meeting before the next council meeting, maybe to deal with this one item. Is members of the Master Sewer Committee willing to do that?
Yes.
Do we have,
Tim has a question.
Tim? But it was on Master Sewer's agenda. And it is a Master Sewer, it's a joint project. There's a sewer separation and there's a street improvement for the width of the street. So technically, we've got, it needs to go before both committees. If the Master Sewer Committee members here tonight will agree that there's not a problem with trying to facilitate a meeting ahead of time, we can get this back before the council in 2 weeks. Alderman Schneider?
I would make the motion if we're not unable to go ahead with this tonight at city council, to go ahead and get a special meeting made so that we can get it on the next city council agenda.
I would ask that too. Alderman Hayden, do you have
I
anything?
made the motion.
We have a motion to go ahead and have a special meeting as your motion?
Yes, as
And
soon as
then, and bring it
possible.
back in 2 weeks to this committee, to this
Yes, please.
council. We have a motion. Do I hear a second to that motion? Second by
Second that
Alderman.
motion, where we can get a consensus on the date.
We'll have to call around, the wastewater treatment plant will call around tomorrow and make sure that we can find the time where we have a quorum.
Okay, I thought you were proposing to do it before.
Well, I would,
Then
but
you have
we don't have
streets.
calendars here, and I just don't want to
Okay.
take that chance. I can't speak for meeting rooms and everything until we
Okay,
look tomorrow
okay.
morning, okay?
Yes.
So we have a motion to second to have this meeting, have a special meeting for this particular topic as stated, so that we can get this topic, this item, back on the city council agenda in 2 weeks.
The question I had, Your Honor, is I also thought that this was going to be presented, somewhere I remember in one of the, it was approved by Traffic Committee, it was approved by Streets and Grades. I thought it was also supposed to go to the Finance Committee too. I mean, it should go to the Finance Committee. I mean,
Amy, has it been? Well, then maybe what we can do is put this on the first part of the Finance Committee agenda and work out, seeing if all of you folks from Master Sewer, some of you are on that committee, maybe we can do it the same night and get that as the one item of business for this to get it taken care of.
Next Monday.
That would be next Monday, so we'd have to, we'll have to get that posted this week. Stay tuned, we're gonna give you a call tomorrow. Randy, let's try to work with Jamie and see if we can't get that to coordinate, even if it's a few minutes. But we have police and fire at 6, so we might have to just make it a part of finance and have it be the one item agenda, one item, and then you guys can part for master sewer. I think, you guide me if that's illegal, but I think we can do something.
As long as it's properly noticed.
I think we can properly notify it. Okay, everybody agree with that? Understand the motion here is to have a special meeting and bring it back in 2 weeks. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to, the next one here is a motion to approve contract modification with EWR Associates for design work for installation of fire suppression sprinkler system.
I'll make a motion to approve that as a recommendation from the Library Committee.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Silsby, I'm sorry, Phil. And do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Schmidt. Do we have discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Silsby?
On behalf of the Library Committee, I'd like to make another motion to approve change order number 2 for library renovations in the amount of $17,394.01. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to scrap a 1992 Chevrolet Caprice with 98,561 miles. You see the license number and the serial number there. After the fire department uses this vehicle for extrication and practice. The city mechanic has told us that this vehicle is beyond repair, and it's time to put it to rest. Motion by Alderman Galletti, second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Schmidt. Any further discussion? All in favor? I think we need to have a roll call, though, because we're going to be just getting rid of equipment. So, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. This next item on here, it comes from my office. I'm asking for a motion to waive the opening and closing of the grave of Walnut Hill Cemetery for a city employee who recently died while employed.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Anthony, second by Alderman Schmidt. Apparently, this had been, number one, he was still employed, hadn't worked that long ago, but had been struggling with some illness, right? Yes. And apparently, this has been a past practice. I think in the almost 10 years I've been mayor, I recall at one time, I checked with several previous, Nikki and several people. I did call Linda Fields, who was in that office for many years. They recall it, but nowhere could we find anything written. It's only been for people who are currently working for the city who happen to have a grave at Walnut Hill. And I didn't want to take it upon myself to do it, so I talked to the family, talked to the funeral home, and said, look, if we will not ask for the money immediately like they normally do, with, as they do with funerals, and that we would give us a chance, time to take it to the council. So we have a motion and we have a second to waive this. Any further discussion? I'd ask for roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. I know the family will appreciate that. Communications.
Motion to read as one.
I'm sorry. Motion, you're
read it.
recommending to read them as one. Does anybody have a problem with that? No problem? Okay, if there's no objections, let's just read them together, if you will, please.
Sounds good. A communication from Jim Karwowski of the Belleville Hockey Program requesting permission to hold their annual 5K run and half-mile fun run on Thursday, November 20th, 2014, which is Thanksgiving Day, beginning at 8 a.m. The same route as before, and they were requesting that Main Street from the public square to 16th Street be blocked off, and they were requesting one police officer. B, communication from Hospice of South Illinois, requesting permission to hold their Run to Remember 5K Run Walk on Saturday, November 15, 2014. The route has been approved by Jim Schneider, Director of Human Resources, and the police and fire chiefs. C, communication from Grand Arret, Of the Belleville Holschnitzer wood carvers requesting permission to display their banner wood carvers demonstration show on November 1st and 2nd, 2014 at the Belle Claire Expo Hall. D, communication from SWIC to place 40 banners for placement on half of the city's 80 pole inventory from the Fountain to 700 East Main, 20 per each side of the street after removal of the Belleville 200 banners. E, communication from Brian Bessie of 7 Restaurant and Lounge to hold their annual Halloween block party on Saturday, October 25th, 2014 from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. They are requesting a block High Street between East Main and East Washington. Music will be played from approximately 7 p.m. until midnight.
Move we approve these requests.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the request as just read, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no petitions. I'd ask for a motion to read by title only resolution number 3203.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second. Second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion about reading by title only? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
A, resolution number 3203, a resolution requesting permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square for the Santa Claus Parade on November 28, 2014 from 9:30 a.m. till 12.
Motion to approve resolution 3203. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Seibert to approve the resolution. Discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. That's the only one, right? The other three are okay. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only ordinances 7808, 7809, and 7810, pulling back 7811 at this time.
Second.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Galletti. Are these being asked to read as a group? Is there any problem with that, or okay to read them as a group, too? All in favor to read by title only and as a group signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
A, ordinance number 7808, a zoning ordinance regarding case 57, September 14, Felicia A. Randolph. B, ordinance number 7809, a zoning ordinance regarding case 58, September 14, Philip G. Elmore. C, ordinance number 7810, a zoning ordinance regarding case 59, September 14, Hicks Inspector LLC.
Motion to approve ordinance number 7808, 09, and 10. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlet. Schneider.
Aye.
Ordinances pass. Okay, we have unfinished business. The last meeting, there was mildly, there was a lot of confusion and not a great meeting in a lot of respects, but we're going to do better here. I agreed last meeting, as I turned to the city attorney, to ask for his clarification on some of the questions raised. And I also agreed to get back with you and revisit it at the next meeting. Very clear in the tape. We can sit here and discuss all the rest forever, and but Garrett, I think, do you want to start by explaining some of the things that you researched? Or?
Sure, I believe a memo that I drafted was distributed to everybody.
Did everybody get the memo?
I didn't receive any questions concerning it, but as far as the reconsideration that the mayor had mentioned, either way you look at it, under the vote that was taken, whether you believe it was 9-7 or 8-7, your city ordinance 2-2-1 AA contemplates reconsideration can be had in either instance on a motion and a second approved to reconsider if the motion in a second come from somebody who voted in the affirmative. So it would be one of the 8 aldermen can make that motion. One of the 8 aldermen in the affirmative can second that motion. The city council can vote on it. If that motion is approved, then what happens is you go back to the debate as the question stands the moment before there was a vote. So if you desire to reconsider it, what would happen if that motion to reconsider is approved, then you would go back and debate the original motion to approve and the second on the agreement itself. And at that point, you're free to, obviously, to state anything that you would like on the matter, on the debate. And I know that since that time, there has been some information that's been circulated, and I believe that, that's really new information is something that is usually what begets reconsideration. So, it's really in practice, it's something that's appropriate if you both want to continue to debate something, bring up any new information, something of that nature. But it's up to you whether or not you reconsider it. It has to be approved.
Okay, so first of all, Alderman Kinsella.
I move we reconsider the agreement with EFK Moen LLC for the study design of intersection improvement at West Main Street and 23rd Street, and I was one of the 8 that voted for it.
We have a motion by Alderman Kinsella. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Silsby. This puts it back on the, as stated here. Let me just clarify one thing. I think there was some definite misunderstandings.
In order to debate it, there has to be a vote on the motion to reconsider.
Okay. So first of all, we have a motion to reconsider, and that's the first motion here at hand. Is there questions or debate about motion to reconsider? Alderman Holt.
What is the new information that they are making the basis of this request?
I think some information that.
Could I ask the people who made the motion, please?
New information isn't required to do it. I just saw that there were requests for additional information that were made, so I put that out there as something that I anticipate somebody's going to want to discuss. There is no requirement other than you be in the either the prevailing side or the affirmative side of a vote. It's all set out in 2-2-1 AA. It's just an opportunity at the next regular meeting if somebody wants to essentially further discuss a matter.
Okay, so the motion on the floor right now is to revisit this and put it back on, the vote back on the floor. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
No.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay. The original motion, let's go back to the last, motion was to approve EFK Moen for a study and design of intersection improvements at West Main Street and 23rd. And the amount, Tim, was 29,000? 29,150.
So move, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Seibert. Okay, the motion from the last meeting is back on the floor. I would like to ask the city engineer to come forward and maybe better explain, because I think there were some maybe not emphasis or maybe some information that was lost in the evening that didn't quite, and I don't know that that's new information, Alderman Holt, but I think it might have been information that was kind of lost in the fury of things, okay? Alderman, Mr. Gregowitz.
Okay. I did kind of touch on it last time I was up here at the last meeting. The proposal is for 29,150, and that is for the intersection design study, pedestrian study, plans, surveying. 12,000 of the 29,150 is for the actual intersection design study and pedestrian study. The remainder, close to $17,000, is for plans, specifications, and surveying data that would be needed to complete the study.
To install a light, right?
To put together plans so it could be put out to bid for contractors to bid on it and install the light.
And also, the other clarification I wanted to make, it was brought up at that meeting, in all the confusion, was about the scope of the study that would be done. And the study is to be done basically from the light at 17th and Main to 28th Street, between the two existing stoplights, and study all the aspects of the traffic flow, and not just Lindenwood's new input with new dorms, et cetera, but the crime lab and the general flow from 17th and Main to 28th. That was not properly explained, but I did clarify it, and Tim did too, with EFK Moen, right, Tim?
I'm sorry, somebody was talking to me here. What was the question?
But you also were told by EFK Moen that the study does encompass, I think the other night, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, it was kind of, I think people left here thinking that the study was only at the intersection of 23rd and Main. And this is
It's
really.
encompassing everything there.
Right. And I
Okay,
said,
sorry.
what they told me was from 28th and Main backwards, really until the other light, which is at 17th and Main, is what was explained to me.
Right, yeah.
Now, that was not made clear the other night. I don't deny that. Okay. Tim, do you have anything else you want to add, first of all?
Well, I'm just looking at that, there was some questions brought up last week, what is the, ADT in that area? There are 10,400 cars that cross past that area.
Daily.
Daily, and that is as of 2013. Those are the latest counts, and those are IDOT counts. One of the things that the study will handle is you got an intersection at 17th Street, a light there at 17th, and you got a light at 28th Street. There is uninterrupted flow from 17th to 28th, and that's one thing that this study will take into account. And if it does warrant traffic signals there, you're going to have 4 dedicated pedestrian crosswalks at that intersection. And part of the study is to determine how the timing is going to be set up on those signals too.
Alderman Kinsella.
It's my understanding that we need to have a study in order to use state and federal money. Am I correct?
In many cases, is that correct, Tim?
Well, we typically use IDOT policies and federal policies when we're doing our work here in the city. They're established policies that work.
That didn't really answer the question.
There have been, in this particular intersection, when we did the intersection a couple of years ago, the 23rd Street, we used CDBG funds, correct?
Yes.
We've used some motor fuel and some TIF, correct?
Yes.
So there's, where there are pots of money where IDOT or federal have their hands in it, to do these studies is a requirement.
Yes.
And that was why we brought it.
That's the answer I was looking for, but that's not what he said.
Yes.
Okay, why didn't we get there?
No, we use IDOT policies on most everything that we do, and this is no different.
But that doesn't tell me that IDOT requires a study. You're telling me their policies, but without telling me what their policy is.
IDOT requires a study if you plan to do traffic signals.
Okay. I know you work with it every day, and in your head that made sense, but it
Sure.
really didn't clarify it.
And in honesty, I think that's what partly what happened at the last meeting. I said to Tim the next day in my office, we talked, and he said, I guess I just assumed that a lot of this stuff everybody knew, but because I deal with it every day. And my point is that the two things I think that didn't get brought out at the last meeting that I think we are clarifying here tonight is, one, that $29,000 is not all for a study. 17 of it, at least, is to actually design and to survey and to show where the lights, and so that when we go out for bid on the lights, if this council agrees to move forward on that, at that intersection, that the people bidding have a set of plans to build off of, okay? That's
Right.
the first part. The second thing is, I think that wasn't clarified, was that when using various pots of money, IDOT policy that we follow is to have the proper study and design done. Now, one of the gentlemen earlier in public participation brought up about, in the past, about another intersection with a school. Okay. You may remember, we, the city of Belleville, first of all, that particular intersection being talked about, in that case, just to compare apples to apples here, okay?
There were two different schools mentioned, so.
Right,
which
so let's
one are you
talk about the first one, Bell Valley.
Okay.
We had it in our budget 2 years in a row to pay a third of that light improvement consideration there, which would have had to have a study too. It's a county road. We come up to it, the intersection is not our road. Originally, the agreement was that the county would pay a third, Bell Valley School would pay a third, and the city of Belleville paid a third. The county backed out of it, the school backed out of it, and we kept our money in there for a second budget year, right, Jamie? Trying to get them back to the table. We did not pull out of that proposal. But it was not our intersection, it's the county road. County told me I could put a light there, but we have to take jurisdiction of that road. And I was not about to recommend to all of you to take jurisdiction of that road of the condition it's in. Now, someday if they make Greenmount 4-lane and all-new road, we might want to consider, if they make all those improvements and pay for it all, we might want to consider if that's the offering to us to take the jurisdiction. But as of now, it's not our road, and I certainly don't recommend. So that answers the question about that one.
Well, are you saying we own one leg?
We only
Basically
own
one
Amon
fourth?
Drive up to the intersection. We do not own, we have no jurisdiction on Greenmount Road right at that intersection. I know that's a separate thing from the night, but it was brought up, and I don't want people here thinking that that we don't know what we're talking about, because we did agree to a three-way sharing, cost sharing, but the other two parties bowed out. We didn't bow out. We finally took it out of the budget when the second year in a row, we were the only one left at the table. Now, the other one was talked about was Belleville West, and I will be honest with you, I was not mayor then. I don't know what the terms of negotiation, I was on the council, and I honestly don't know the conditions of that particular situation at the new Belleville West High School. I don't know. Alderman Hayden?
Yes, Your Honor.
that's the
Couple follow-up questions. Since this money's being spent out of the general engineering funds, and it was not specifically earmarked, why was this project not also brought to the Finance Committee, which is normal protocol?
Well, because I think, Jamie, you can jump in here. We took it to traffic, we took it to streets and grades, we took it back to traffic, we took it back to streets and grades. It was in the budget for engineering so many dollars, and Tim had that discretion.
It's not earmarked, Your Honor. The response I got from the finance director is there's X amount of dollars in engineering services, but this project was not specifically earmarked. So in other words, you're taking it out of a general pool of engineering funds. It was not earmarked. So when you're taking out of that general pool of funds, when it's not earmarked,
Please
protocol.
stop swearing.
I didn't swear.
Yes,
Okay.
you did.
Okay, ladies, ladies.
I put up with
Okay,
her
hold it.
cursing under her breath enough.
Now, I'm gonna tell you, please, I'm gonna be very nice here. But if the outbursts continue, I'm not gonna play he said, she said, whatever. I'm gonna ask one or both of you to leave for the rest of the meeting. We're not gonna have those outbursts from anyone. We cannot conduct the business of the city council with that kind of behavior. And that was part of the problem at the last meeting. And I think that's why maybe some of the body of this got lost in the discussion. Now, go back, Mr. Hayden, just a second. I lost your
So
train
did
of
I.
thought.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm confused what was going on there, but, yeah, protocol in the past, Your Honor, has been if it's not specifically earmarked project, and even those that are earmarked projects that are over the ordinance and statutory limit of 20,000, we take towards the Finance Committee. And the object of the again, because as you state, the budget is a planning tool. The object of the Finance Committee is the last guardian of the purse and recommendation to the city council of where we stand with revenues coming in, expenditures going out, and especially with this not being a specifically earmarked project, it was not brought towards finance committee.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Mr. Hayden, but I will say this. As you know, this topic has been back and forth for over 2 months. Tonight is the first night there was a question about finance, going to the finance committee. Now, I'm not saying you're not correct. Maybe it should have. But I'm saying is, I think according to our city attorneys, my conversation in the past, there is no obligation in our city ordinance that says at this point in time that we must. Now, I would say in the future, I think in the future, we can talk about a protocol if we want to establish that and make sure and make it clear.
Now,
But I will say this. I think this topic there was some things that weren't clarified. I think the meeting at the last meeting got definitely, as example here again tonight, it got a little bit out of sorts. And we
Not
lost.
me, Your Honor.
Huh?
Not me.
I'm saying that, I'm asking that there's a motion on the floor to approve the traffic study, and there's been explanation by our professional, our city engineer, that the traffic study that's being done is not just a study, but it's also designed so that we have a set of plans so that the light that some of you, and I agree with, probably is going to be appropriately recommended for that location, that we have a set of plans that we can go out to bid with and get that job done. I also want to reiterate that because of some of the funds we use, we have traditionally and faithfully followed IDOT policy, and that's why we've done these. When you're getting into a light, I guess, Tim, I don't know the fact, but the lighted intersection could be $100,000?
You're usually looking about 35 to 40,000 per leg.
Per
There's-
leg.
There's 4 legs there.
So you're gonna be over $100,000. So my point is, that's why we recommended that the study and design be ready to go, so when we go out for bid, that all the facts are there, and that the study of that corridor with the increased traffic, with the crime lab, Lindenwood, Union School, everything in that corridor. And since that's all been done, we also know that 17th Street now goes all the way through to 15 with Belleville Crossing. There's been a lot of things that have changed over the years recently. So the motion that's back on the floor is to approve the quote study/design with EFK Moen. Okay?
I got that, Your Honor. And part of my difficulty with this is, you're just stating that we're gonna have to come up, where is this 120,000 gonna come from?
And that, first of all, let's don't put the cart before the horse. The first thing is, we're gonna have to get the study/design back to make sure that the recommendation is warranted to go at that location. Second of all, once we do that, the council would have to make a decision, or in committee would have to make a decision to move it forward to go out for bid. And in the meantime, we're gonna have to talk with Jamie about what other projects maybe weren't touched this year, if it's something that you want to initiate yet this year. If not, it'll have to be taken in consideration for the next year's budget. So those decisions aren't being made tonight. This is just to get the study/design underway so that we can move forward beyond that. Okay?
And that's part of the problem,
Alderman
is
Holt.
because we're some of this information that's gonna be brought out from the study is gonna be obsolete as soon as they turn it in, once they build the next storm. I wanna go back to, you're stating that this study's gonna encompass now 17th to 28th Street, when it clearly states, the topographic survey is, South 22nd too, and we never did get an answer of what West Calvin approach is.
The people were here, the last meeting. The lady called me the very next day. And quite honestly said, I was gonna raise my hand and tell you all that obviously we will, hearing what I've heard about Union School and the light at 28th Street, driving in here to that night of the last meeting, she said, but she said the way that meeting was going, Mayor, I wasn't gonna raise my hand. she said, I felt bad for you and everybody was going on. She said, I wasn't gonna raise my hand. She called me the very next day. And she said, we will, for no difference in price, we will definitely look to Union School at 28th Street, and we will look at that corridor and study it, because hearing all this, we understand. So she was making that very clear. Now, if, you know, like I said, I'm giving you my word, but I talked to the lady the very next day she called me. So I think there was confusion. I think there was a lot of motion. I think there was some misunderstanding. I think there was some things, obviously, that weren't totally heard. But I think based on all this, that's why I told, you know, the city attorney and I talked, I have no problem with bringing this back tonight to re-vote on it, because, you know, I think we need the study/design to be faithful with IDOT dollars of motor fuel, and we follow with our TIF dollars, Jamie and Tim, we follow all those same policies, we always have. We've not deviated from this.
Last, Your Honor, did the city engineer ever find the study that was done? If we're following these rules and this is the precedent we're going by, then I'm sure there was a study done before we put the pedestrian, especially at mid-block at Governor French Academy on Main Street.
That was done with the streetscape
Right.
back in
When we-
2006.
2005, 2006, when they were doing the East Main and West Main streetscape,
There was much discussion over that.
that was part of that engineering. It was before I got here.
And likewise, that was also, Mr. Hayden.
So there would be a specific mention of that study.
I remember much dialogue about that at the time, about the one at Governor French, and also about the mid-block pedestrian crosswalk by the bread company and Ben's. Those were very heavily talked about during the streetscape, and I'm not trying to put her on the spot, but Mrs. Boyer's here. Kaskaskia helped us with finishing up the streetscape, and I think those topics were discussed at the time.
That was all part of when you're using federal funds and you have to write a project development report, that study becomes part of the project development report, so it's not a separate study. All depends what kind of funding you're using.
So that was talked about. It's
But
been
there's
7-8 years ago.
But there's no documentation of a written study that specifically
It was a
shows
part
that.
of it was a part of the development agreement when we did the downtown streetscape in 2006 and 7. It's been during my watch. I know we had it. I know we went through it.
I'd
but
like to see the written part.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We have to go in the basement and dig through the boxes and see, but I'm gonna tell you, we had discussions in committees at that time, and
Kaskaskia did the study, I would hope.
no, I don't,
they would have-
Kaskaskia didn't do the study.
It was Coleman Design Group.
Coleman Design
Design
Group did it. They took over after a certain point in helping us finish the project, but Coleman
Then I
Design
think we
Group
should be
did.
able to ask Coleman Design to
We can
find
look,
it.
we can look, but I'm telling you, that was done with the streetscape. And we can check that. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, you've had a couple conversations. Let's go to Alderman Randall.
Actually, Mayor, I think Dr. Silsby has had his hand up for a while.
Okay, okay. I didn't see it behind here. Alderman Silsby,
My comment was, maybe it should come later, not with this motion, is there a possibility to go back and when if it says we need the light, to see if Lindenwood and whoever will share? Because I do know I did some talking with some people from 201 about the light at Belleville East, right there on Carlisle Avenue, which they didn't get that light until someone was hit. And then the city, the state, and the schools shared the cost. So I would hope that if the study comes back that says there is a light, that we would approach the various parties to see whether or not there could be a shared cost, whether the city paid for all of it.
and that's not out of the question, and I didn't even go to their last meeting because we were engulfed in conversation about the study/design, study. It might be as well that we go to our legislators and say the crime lab's there. The crime lab's already, not officially, but unofficially, when I was there for the ribbon cutting, a couple of them, no names mentioned, but a couple people who worked there said, man, I sure hope you're gonna put a light here. It's already getting hard to pull out. And I said, it's being looked at. And at that time, it was being talked about in committee. That's just been a few weeks ago, the crime lab ribbon cutting, so it's recent. So my point is, I think there is some places to go and look about this discussion. But we hadn't even got to the point about the cost of the light. The conversation thus far was study/design. Alderman Randall?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of comments, and I want to make sure that I put them on the record so that they don't get lost someplace, so that we do take it into consideration. First of all, I'm happy to hear that the scope has been broadened, or it was intended to be broad all along. But I want to make sure that it's really taking a lot of different things into consideration. For example, and I've had both phone calls as well as emails from members of the public and the city here. With respect to Fire Station number 2, at Main Street there at South 22nd Street, you have an entrance, the fire department entrance onto West Main Street. So we've already got a light there, and it's in close proximity to South 23rd Street and what's being proposed. My fear is that a traffic backup due to these lights, both down East and West Main Street, could delay first responders from reaching their destination in a timely manner to serve and protect the residents, taxpayers, as well as students of both Lindenwood and Union School. I don't remember discussing the relocation of Firehouse number 2 at Economic Development and Annexation or any other committee meeting that I've attended. My instincts tell me a traffic light at South 23rd and West Main will do nothing to modify the behavior of students who recognize that the shortest distance between point A and point B is still a straight line. Those same instincts make me fear a hastened abandonment of Fire Station number 2 due to the installation of a light less than 300 feet from South 22nd Street, where the fire department entrance is. The firehouse relocation will be a far more expensive item to undertake if we don't do a better job of planning now. So I'm very happy to hear that the scope of this project is going to be much larger. There was a comment made, a reference to an uninterrupted traffic flow between 17th Street to 28th Street that actually could extend through South 37th Street and beyond, all the way down to 4600 West Main Street and the four-way lights there. So the timing of the lights is going to be critical. If the lights are green at South 37th Street, I know that there are cars hitting 55 to 70 miles an hour by the time they hit South 30th Street. If there is nothing there to stop them at South 28th Street, if the light is green, they're coming across the railroad tracks into a single merge, and that puts everybody at risk. Not just pedestrians, but traffic coming from the opposite direction as well. So I'm very hopeful, okay, that the scope of this project takes more into consideration, not only from 17th Street and West Main, but also down through West Main Street past the 28th Street corridor, if that's possible. I think that we need to do a much better job of planning now as opposed to doing things piecemeal, because I fear that they can get very, very expensive.
Your comments are well taken. And as far as engine house number 2, part of the study is also to look at the fire station coming in and out. You know, it's a wonderful problem the way the campus is growing at Lindenwood. And now suddenly there's dorms around it, and there's a lot of things happening. If we were building fire station number 2 today, we wouldn't build it at that location. I've told the chief before, if a significant grant opportunity came along, I would recommend that we consider looking at fire station number 2 at 17th and Main, where we own some of the property. It would be at a location I think would be very good, but once again, it's not a priority on our current list. We just built a new firehouse in 2009, but if enough grant money came along and the opportunity persisted itself, it would be a consideration. But that's not high on the list, but it's something as you look among staff, when we have staff meetings, we talk about. So those things can continue to be looked at, but as they do their study, they will take a hard look at the effects of the fire department entering and exiting at 22nd and Main. When they come back, they constantly always come in 23rd Street and come around the back and re-enter the engine house. So they're going to have to take all that into consideration. But I just want to make it clear tonight, this vote tonight is just the first phase of study/design, and then there's still other decisions have to be made, and other discussion and other negotiations, obviously. But I think a lot of this was not calmly or properly or totally, and I'll take some of the, I think Tim and I, after the fact, agreed that there were some things we probably could have better said, but the meeting kind of lost control, and those things just didn't get out there. So-
There's one thing I'd like to add is, there's $1,600 put in there for construction inspection. I asked them to put that in there just in case I didn't have enough staff to look over this, but, I mean, that could be taken off too if my staff is doing the construction inspection, so.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second right now to approve EFK Moen to do the study/design, which includes the surveying, et cetera, of that intersection, and to come back to the committee, and to this council with recommendations, so that we could, if they decide, have a set of plans to go out for bid. As to where the money's coming from that and other things, that is all to be determined at future meetings, not tonight. So we have a motion, we have a second. Alderman Holt.
First, I want to say I appreciate very much what Alderman Silsby said about asking the school to partner with us and possibly even asking the state. Given what you explained about past history, that certainly seems like a reasonable thing to do. I still wasn't clear on, Alderman Hayden started asking about the budget for the study, as it was a general pool of money and not
Each year,
specifically-
in the budget, we approve a amount of money for engineering because we don't know what's gonna come up throughout the year. So, correct, Jamie? And
Okay,
we,
so that was what I was trying to
So there was
get.
a-
Is there a specific, we think we're gonna do these 5 projects and therefore we will need that, or it's just a general, in the past, we've used this much
we've
money?
had it, because we've had things come up, and we've had to engineer some things. We've had some things where we've had to do some engineering quickly because of emergency type situations. You know, so there is a line in the budget that between Tim and wastewater treatment and some of the places where we might have a sewer, that we can have some engineering done relatively quickly if we have to. And this here just would, Tim was just counting on taking the engineering out of that part of the budget. Now, in a perfect world, yeah, we can, you know, like I said, I don't have a problem. There was nothing sneaky trying to be done here. This had been back and forth to many committees. It had been very open, very public. And I don't have a problem, but I think right now, this topic's gotten all kinds of attention, and I would ask tonight that we would move this forward to initiate this next phase, then send it back after we get the results to the committees to discuss further how we go forward.
Okay, one last question. Recently, on East Main, in front of Ben's, 2 little yellow signs have
That came out of the
appeared.
traffic committee.
Okay, well, that was what I was asking. Was that put there privately? Did we put those there?
We did that. We ordered them. It took a while to get them. We moved the planter boxes back, which was part of the suggestion. And I've heard from 2 of the business owners in recent days that they feel that the safety improvement there with those attempts have greatly helped. So that was just accomplished. And we tried to get them done before the last few weeks with all the extra traffic downtown.
Okay, so I'm going down that road asking you, will that be a possibility of a recommendation from this study to use those kind of very vivid markers reminding drivers that it is their obligation to stop?
That could be a consideration as part of it. We talked about using something like that at the crosswalk that was, and let me go back to that crosswalk by the tennis courts real quick. That was not anything of any cost to us, hardly at all. We striped it and we put up some signs we had in stock. So we did that because they had a student, thank goodness it was just grazed, but they had a student hit there. So we were trying to be attentive to their needs. The chief, Sparger, I, Tim, several of us met out there with Jerry Bladdick and Dr. Wingo, and Tim recommended that thing. That might be where those new signs we found now might be good to put there. But once again, a crosswalk isn't gonna fix every situation, and you can't, we don't have patrols to stand there and make the kids the young adults cross there. But it was a request from them. Now, in hindsight, should we have gone back through everything? We were trying to show a responsive to their request, a quick response to their request, because a student had been hit and they were very concerned about safety. And it was non-expensive to us, and it was recommended both by the police department and the engineering, so I didn't have a problem going along with it.
A couple of things. Yes, Your Honor, I did hear good positive comments about putting up the signs up at that mid-block crosswalk there by Lincoln Theater. Again, I'm not against a study in due time. I'm against this study at this time and the cost. I think we're ignoring the immediate need and concern that has been brought forward by Lindenwood, and that is to, in my mind, what should be done immediately is to take the blinking lights, the yellow lights down, and put up a similar stoplight similar to what is it, Governor French, so we can at least start stopping the main traffic on Main, and then down the road do the study when the other dorms and everything is complete. So I think we're doing it backwards. I think we're doing it in a long, drawn-out cost that right now is not addressing the immediate concern that's been brought, at least to my attention, by the university, and that's why I'm going to vote against this. But hopefully we will get a pedestrian light up in due time, but the way we're going, I don't see it happening for another year.
We have a pedestrian light there now that's not working, right, Tim? Is that what the consensus is?
Well, they're crossing at different locations. They're crossing
And the
whenever it's
difference- The big
convenient.
difference, Alderman Hayden, between this and Governor French's, Governor French's mid-block, this is a four-way intersection with a lot of new traffic coming off of 23rd Street on both sides now, because you have a new dormitory gonna open next week, and you have the crime lab. And you have a lot of traffic crossing there, which is much different than Governor French, a mid-block crosswalk light. So, you know, I think, I agree, they need a light, but to put up a light there that just crosses students and is gonna be very confusing, because you're gonna have people then trying to turn and get across. We need to get this design, and we can agree to disagree, but I really think we
I'm going to
need to
agree to
get.
disagree, because it's not going to confuse anybody. We have, that this money could be going to take down the blinking yellows and put up a push button that would stop the traffic with a red light, and people know to stop or when they see the red light, so the students can get across the street and start using that to educate those students at Lindenwood that this is what they need to use.
Alderman Hidden, today I witnessed students crossing, waiting to cross the street, coming from the Hyatt, what I'll call the old Hyatt lodging, crossing not Main Street, but crossing 23rd Street. They need help crossing there as much. There's cars turning into them, there's traffic trying to get out in a hurry, and the one girl was on crutches. So you had an ADA, you know, so the reason, this is different than just a mid-block crosswalk. So we have a motion, we've had a lot of good conversation. We have a motion and we have a second to approve the study of EFK Moen for the $29,150, is that right, Tim?
Yes.
But that includes not only a study, it includes the design of the intersection and the survey, et cetera. With all this healthy discussion tonight, I vote would approve EFK Mullen to move forward with the study and design. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
No.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
No.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett.
No.
Schneider.
No.
10-6.
You have 10 or 9? 10.
10-6.
10-6. Okay. The motion carries 10-6. Okay. Good discussion. Okay. This time we go to miscellaneous and new business. We do have an announcement. We do have, Emily, a special ED and annexation meeting Thursday, October 9th, this Thursday. It's going out tomorrow. We need to do this. We've been, and we'll further explain at the meeting, but we've been waiting patiently. We have to be timely for the enterprise zone, the new enterprise zone that we have to get turned in. There's some things that are with the expansion of the district that we've actually learned of today. We were waiting on a possible development. So it's at 5 p.m. in the council chambers. I think, Emily, did you guys call around though with some of your members though? We do? Yes, we do have a quorum, so they did check today, but I would ask that all of you might, if possible, try to come Thursday evening at 5. There will be, at this point, the time, the main, and I can't say until we talk tomorrow morning again, but the main item on the agenda will be about the enterprise zone and the timeliness of getting our application in time. We need to move quickly now. We were waiting on some information and some other situation developing, and as of today, we have to act. So that's an announcement. Any other questions or announcements? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to compliment our street department for getting the one-way signs put up on Washington and on A. I think that really helped with traffic. We've had so many events downtown that were well attended. I think that was very proactive of them.
Yep.
And I also wanted to publicly compliment our assistant city attorney at the public hearing about St. Elizabeth's for asking if we could have another hearing since so many citizens didn't have the opportunity.
And we're still pursuing that. We're talking with the city attorney that we've hired about stating our objections to a need for another hearing possibly. We're trying, okay? Alderman Hayden.
Yeah, real quick, Your Honors. I just want to note, I'm going to give to the city clerk after the meeting, I want to file into our archives my statement that I made that night, so he has it on record for anybody who wants to see it with the city.
That's fine. Anything else here? Any other unfinished business or new business? Hearing that, I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session.
I was just going to report on a couple of new litigation matters. If you prefer, I could do it by memorandum.
Yes, absolutely.
Unless you have a score,
Yes.
And you could call me with any questions. I'd be happy to do that. It's really early, so there's really not a lot of information.
Motion to adjourn.
I see a lot of rent out there.
Motion to adjourn by Alderman Hayden. Do I have a second? Second by Alderman Galetti. We'll disregard tonight's executive session. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You're a hero.